causing drama and things like this. I just, thank you all for enacting that a year before we needed to. It has had nothing but positive impact so far. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Amy, Deb, you two had your hands raised.
We were having audio problems, but I think it's been fixed.
Oh,
Thanks.
very good. Any other public comment? Hearing and seeing none, public comment is closed. So on the routine business, we have minutes from our special board meeting on July 14th, board retreat on August 11th, personnel committee meetings on July 1st and July 18th, or August 18th. We have a motion to approve those all at the same time. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving these minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those who abstain?
So I reviewed the borders for the dates listed on pages 2 and 3 agenda. Everything looked in check, and I'd like to make a motion to approve the borders for 5:30, 6:13, 6:27, 7:11, 7:11.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of approving these board orders, say aye. Abstain? Okay, thank you. Legislative updates.
All right, so I'll give I guess, brief refresher on everything that's going on in the legislature right now. So we've got three important bodies that are doing work at the moment, right? Or soon. So we have the redistricting task force, which consisted wholly of legislators. They've met a few times. They are charged with looking at and designing at least 3 different options for redistrict maps for the state, generally fitting within that 4,000 to 8,000 student range. Now, that's not absolute. That is what the guidelines that are in Act 73. They are going to meet several times over the course of the next few months and have a proposal out in budget, basically. So it's a very rapid timeline. There are, I think, in your package, there's the RCA update, the Rural School Community Alliance, and they highlight some of the differences. So what's going to be put forth is either there's the option for supervisory unions or supervisory districts. There's some nuances between the two. Those are going to be options that are put forth in the redistrict maps. The next body that's going to be formed is the Voting Award Task Force. That is something that will be formed probably over the course of the next month or so. They start meeting in October. We don't know everybody who's going to be on that task force yet. That should be coming out in the weeks. That task force is responsible for determining basically how the districts are represented. How many directors do they get for the new districts? So a lot of this work is almost being done in parallel, and it does come together at the end. But that's a very important task force as it relates to representation of our communities effectively, as Eric alluded to. As you recall, what was in the original proposal from the governor was 5 board members per district. Now, we'll see what the task force comes up with So that's an important item that's going on. And then you have the renewed scope of the Committee on the Future of Public Education. They're going to be looking at what is the responsibility of the state, what is the responsibility of local communities. They're going to be looking at process for how to gain input from communities if and when schools eventually close. So it's really narrowed scope from what it was previously. So that is something that we'll pick up as well. So I think that's three major focus areas right now. I don't know that there's a whole lot of substantive updates from those groups. We will be organized as they meet and actually proposals, but definitely want to keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening there. A couple other things I'll mention as your VSBA rep. On Thursday, September 11th, there's a webinar for resolutions that were submitted to the VSBA. Those will be voted on in the annual meeting that takes place in October. So some of them do involve how the VSBA represents rural communities, so of particular importance to us. And then there's a regional meeting at the end of the month. September 30th is the regional meeting for the VSBA. So good plug for all VSBA meetings taking place over the next few weeks.
What you said the name of that task force was, the second thing you talked about.
There's two. There's the redistricting task force and then the voting board task force. Voting board.
Voting board, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Bart? Okay. On to the Act 73 discussion. Now we'll do this as far as I can see. There wants to be a discussion that Kyle has. We sent out paperwork on it about the supervisory union versus supervisory district, so we can all talk about that. This proposal that it's going to be presented to the task force meeting on Wednesday. I'm going to let Pat speak to that. Anything else that Mark has? I'm good.
Okay, so I'll give an update on the Alliance, and there was something that went out in our packet last week, but I'll just kind of hit on some of the highlights. So at this time, the RSCA is attending, reporting on, and making public comment at all redistricting task force meetings. Like Bart said, there's been a few. They're also watching and staying aware of all commission meetings, particularly relevant are the school closure decisions that will make and change, the changes to boards. Sorry. Additionally, they're paying attention to regular state board and education meetings and emerging topics that come to the table. The RCA superintendent's call is being held next Friday at 1 p.m. and Kat's going to attend that. And most importantly, the Alliance is just strongly encouraging that all members communicate with the task force, like we've been mentioning all evening. It's really important that we submit some written public comment and that we have a robust discussion tonight between the differences of the two ways of operating districts. So many school districts are following the discussion with a passage of a motion stating their preferences, and some are also talking with their neighbors. Districts are informing the task force in writing about what kind of governance is most appropriate for their district once the motion is passed. And to date, 7 SUs representing 41 towns have passed motions and informed the task force of their preference. So it's really important that we be proactive with this rather than reactive, which is why I think we're hoping to pass a motion for a resolution tonight. And just as a reminder for some of us that are new, for us, we're currently 3 school districts. We're a Union High School District, a Union Elementary School District, and a single town school district of Cambridge. So we're 3 separate school districts that are working in an SU. I believe I have that correct. So just keep in mind as we have the conversation, and according to the Alliance, currently LSSU and OSSU both want to be SUs, not SDs. That's what they're saying so far, and I think they're also having a discussion this week as well. So, and in that report that was sent out, there was the, a sort of synopsis of the SDs versus SUs, and I won't go over that unless people have specific questions.
So a few superintendents reached out to talk about where we could get the sort of the biggest bang for our buck and what we would need to do to check off the various requirements of Act 73. And if you think about it, and Kyle just sort of provided a nice segue into this, we have 3 school districts in one SU. The call is to reduce the number of districts. So this board could submit a resolution to state that their ask is that 3 districts become 1. And so we would, in that case, become an SD. So that would be an amalgamation of Lamoille North Modified Unified Union School District A, B, and Cambridge. So you don't need both boards or the Cambridge board to vote to do this. We don't necessarily know that this is going to mean anything to the task force, but it's something that we can provide as, showing that we're thinking about it. Here's what else it checks off. We have one master agreement for both teachers and support staff. We wouldn't have to spend inefficient time trying to combine different master agreements from different districts. We have one work day. We have the same number of school days in the year. I mean, not that that's mandated, but there are some districts that have more days than we have. This would be easy. The only thing that isn't checked off is the ADM, school average daily membership. I think, and from what I've heard, and none of this is fact, that they're not going to be able to hold to that 4,000 to 8,000 student minimums, because then, frankly, you would get us down to about 5 districts. And there really isn't a point, I don't see, in saying take 5 different SUs and put them together, because what does that do? It still disrupts our students. They would be in, bused to schools that they may not be familiar with. I can't speak for Cambridge, but what I could say is that if Cambridge joins, it's the devil they know versus the devil they don't know. It also answers the call to show our communities that we are thinking about them. And from the community members who've reached out to me, nobody wants a big change. They either don't want the big change or they don't know that that change could be coming. So it provides some, perhaps, or it may assuage their anxiety over what this might look like for their children in years to come. It may not fly. It doesn't mean that this is going to happen, but it's something, it shows that we're doing something. The other thing I would say is, do you know other districts who are going to want to take on an $11 million debt? I don't. And frankly, the flip side is true. If we are combined, merged with another SU or other SUs, we're also taking on their debt. So this feels like a win-win situation. Thoughts?
What is our ADM?
Sorry?
What is our ADM? How many?
Well, from year to year, anywhere between 1878 and 2000. Okay, this is where I get commentary. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, yes, I'll chime in first. So, I mean, water bill, 100% water bill, we voted to merge as part of Act 46, right? I think I've been on this board for almost since that. And I personally think we work really well together. We keep all of our students front and center. You know, I don't see you bullying Waterville because we're a smaller town, right? I think I don't know that this would represent much of a change in substance, but it definitely does give us, you know, fewer meetings. I know, and Deb probably can attest to this, but there's a lot of bookkeeping that goes on when you maintain the separate districts. There's a lot of intercompany charges. There's a lot of administrative burden there. There's additional audit requirements. So like, I do think there is some real tangible benefits here. I don't know that it's massive, but it seems to me like, to Kat's point, devil, you know, none of you are devils, right? But it seems like this is a partnership that is working. So why would we not consider cementing this further?
And can I add something to that? We don't have any answers to how Act 73 is going to benefit our students. We do have answers as to how our districts benefit our students. And the other thing that I would say about Cambridge and the Loyal North Board, there are 6 Cambridge board members. 4 of them sit on this board. Plus, we have more representation from Cambridge, and I think you're called at-large members. So there's definitely 2. 3. Okay, 3. Thank you. That supports it even more. So we have voices from the community. Anyway, that's all.
Any comments? What I'm gonna do before we leave this is, we're gonna be set, if the board adopts this, I was planning on going down to a meeting on Wednesday anyways. I took the day off. I've been listening to too many of these, via phone and, being recorded and typed on. I won't give you my thoughts on it, but, they're rather interesting meetings to say the least. They seem to spend more time trying to justify their job than doing their job. I guess I'll put it that way. So I want to go to see one in person. My name is lit up all over Montpelier anyways, because I'm not shy of sending notes to governors and education secretaries and letting them know my thoughts. So unfortunately, this meeting is in Waterbury and not in Montpelier, so I'm sure they're going to sign out waiting for me in Montpelier. If this board was willing to adopt this, which I think is a great idea, it basically returns us back to pre-Act 46 times, when we all worked very well together anyways. Act 46 formalized us. Left Cambridge to do their thing a little bit, but they still come up here. One of the things I brought up, quite frankly, when we had talked about why are we on the board, we all work all together, we all march forward in the same direction. What we're doing is we're asking the state to consider this as an alternative to joining the Muskie Valley board, which they're going to try to do at some point, I'm sure. So I think very much to the points that we brought up, including Eric's back there. I won't get him started again. We are looking to do something, and what may not necessarily be what we want. Submit this, they've got an opinion, and this is very easy to talk to in the public comment. So,
I'm not speaking for everybody on Cambridge, but my feeling is Cambridge is not gonna be able to stay its own school district. Not without these changes. It's too small. I mean, we're a big school, but it's still small. And like you said, better the devil you know, than the devil you don't know. At least if we do this, maybe at least it looks to the state like we're making an effort. We just kind of say, no, we're gonna stick to our guns here and stay the old way. think that's gonna help any of us.
Seems like the logical thing to do to show that we're united as all three supervisory unions too, with the goal of having the least negative impact on the students down the road, depending on what they say. And when I read the thing, like, yeah, 2 mountain ranges separate us. I never really thought of that until you put it in writing, but I mean, I live like in the middle of a mountain range, so. But it seems like a logical step for the hopeful best outcome for the kids.
And don't forget that we cover 261 square miles. So I don't know what kind of leadership a mega district would have that would be able to go into the schools and name students, you know, have a relationship with students and staff in the way that we all do in this district.
And then students love that all levels of administration know who they are. You know, pre-K, seniors.
So would anybody like to put a motion on the floor that we adopt this so that we can pass it and send it in via email it tomorrow morning?
Motion to adopt.
Any further comments? All those in favor of adopting this resolution to send in, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstaining? Okay, thank you very much. I have something to talk about on Wednesday. Now. Personnel matter.
Paula's going to take this and ask the board to go into executive session to discuss a personnel matter.
And who would like to stay? Board members. Kat, we need Deb and yourself, obviously. Okay. So I'll officially ask to go into executive session.
Mark, any motion?
We need a motion, yeah.
Motion to go into executive session.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained?
Sorry, I didn't hear Paula. Am I staying in?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Executive session ever.
You're gonna be fine.
That is really sad.
So no.
Yeah, it was this.
I know.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion that the board grant an exception to an individual experiencing extenuating personal circumstances, that their paid sick leave be accelerated to be paid out in January 2026.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor of approving this motion, say aye. Opposed or abstained? Okay. Continuous improvement plans. I've been told that each one of the administrators are going to get 2 minutes. So it looks like Beth Ann wants to go first.
Absolutely can. So it's keeping it under 2 minutes. It's going to be tricky, but I'll do my best. So our first goal for our continuous improvement plan, which were created after collecting tons of data and meeting with different teams, getting input from all the different stakeholders. Our first goal is around safe and healthy schools. And it's really focused on our MTSS systems, which is also like district work that's happening. And there are many outcomes that we have built into that goal, which is really establishing systems, clear roles and responsibilities, maintaining like dedicated blocks of time during our week to have an EST team meeting. So the MTSS is probably our biggest goal that is going to cause the most shifts in the building. The second goal is a goal that we have actually been continuing to work on since last year. And that's really around creating an inclusive school environment. And one thing that we wanted to do this year is really get clear on behavioral expectations in the building, one of which you heard Eric speak about, cell phones. So cell phones, substances, and respect is non-negotiable. Like those are some of our core pieces we're working on. Increasing our tier 1 behavior systems and establishing student-centered behavior responses. And then our final goal continues to be around proficiency-based learning, and work that we're doing there is pretty incredible, and I enjoy it. But really aligning our graduation standards and indicators in a way that we are working 7 through 12. So I'm sure Chris will talk about it too. Getting crystal clear on our outcomes for our kids, and then continuing to build PD and help our teachers create. This year, we're really focusing on common assessments. And then what do we do when our kids know it, don't know it, and really moving them forward and using data. So those are our 3 big goals.
And I can jump into that. Right, that was just over 2 minutes. It's really, so our goals are very, very similar because we've been working very closely together as a 712 campus. I want to spend a little bit more time on what is our third goal, which is the creation of safe and healthy schools. And one of the things that we want to focus on is that we want to make sure the vast majority of our students can answer the following 2 questions in the affirmative, meaning they agree or strongly agree with it. I have at least one adult at school I can go to when I need support, and adults respond quickly to discipline issues. These were issues that, upon my arrival last year, were areas of growth for the school. And one of the things that we have put in place systemically for this year, in addition to all of the stuff that they have just described, is we have created a robust teacher advisory program at Willow Middle School. What had used to be a kind of like a home base, which quite candidly was sort of a wasted 15, 20-minute start to the day, just kind of a free time, everybody gets settled in, has now become a partnership with at least 2 adults with no more than 13 students in a group, including myself, including Crystal Granzo, our assistant principal, other folks in our office team, really truly getting to know kids to help with those multi-tiered systems of support to make sure kids have what they need to succeed academically, but also to make sure that they have somebody to go to when things just aren't going their way, when they're having trouble with their peer, when there's some sort of relational issue with a specific adult in school that we can help them navigate, home front issues. It's only been 2 weeks. I haven't done my own TA in 6 or 7 years, and it's reminding me how much I really missed that. This is why we come in every day, right? To build those relationships with kids, which will lead to our our first 2 goals, really raising our proficiency scores in our testing for reading and mathematics. We're going to really get to know our kids now in talking to their teachers about what supports they need, their special educators or math literacy interventionists. So each of us has 6 kids that we're going to be working with. And I'm just really excited about this. It's only been 2 weeks, but I think this is really going to meet our goals really clearly.
I'll go next. Thank you. So mine are going to be a little more formal, but our first goal is the overarching goal for our school, which again is safe and healthy schools, because that's the most important thing. We can't teach or have students learn in an environment that's not safe. And our goal is to implement the CASTLE framework, which works on 5 components of social emotional health, and it's self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. And this is going to be done through explicit learning activities. We have health and wellness class, restorative practices, parent and community involvement, a strong positive behavior intervention support system, which holds high expectations for academics as well as emotional and behaviors. And our goal is to collaborate with LNSU on school safety and social emotional learning. That's what some of our, all looking at the same data. And we're taking those information and using tools to support all aspects of student challenges, including harm to self, harm to others, mental health crises, discipline, behavior, and family school crises. So academic achievement. So if we have those things in place, the idea is that we will improve our academic achievement. And our goal is that all students succeed in learning and have academic growth and achievement. And this is done first through universal instruction, then through intervention systems, then through comprehensive assessment, and then data analysis, and then we're going to plan for instruction. So we start out with strong universal, we help the kids that aren't getting there, we look at all the assessments, we analyze the data, and it's a cycle that goes over and over again to improve learning. The last thing we have is if you're in a K-3 school, you have to have specific learning goals in relationship to reading proficiency. And we are implementing the American Reading Company, K3 and UFly, which are learning reading programs, and we're providing intervention for Tier 2 and ESP 2. In addition to meet our goals, we leverage our PBIS house system to promote engaging learning practices, student goal setting, engaging in families and community and student learning using the whole school, whole child, whole community model. So the idea is everybody's vested. We all have a piece of the puzzle.
Well, I'll just go with no to circle. Similar much to what Diane and my other colleagues said, we have 3 goals. And I do think that the most important first one is our safe and healthy schools and our social emotional learning that occurs in our schools. And this year, I feel very lucky to have a slightly different model for our tier 2 learners, which we call the 5-to-1 model. Previously, that was contracted through an outside agency, but this year is being an in-house system, and that gives us a lot more control and voice and input, and we can really tweak things.
Superintendent's over here next to.
So I have met with Tasha, who is kind of heading that up for our school, and I have a really great person that is filling that in, and students have been able to take breaks and be very positive and proactive. So I'm excited to kind of work with that team and build on that and make sure our students are regulated and able to get in the classroom to do the learning that is there for them. And also, like Diane was just talking about, we had to adopt a different curriculum for we're doing K-4 in our school company. And there is a pretty big learning curve to that. So that started last year in January. We started with some PD with our teachers, and I'm involved with it as well. And there'll be some more this year. So I'm just excited to support teachers and learn that program along with my teachers and look at the data and see the success that we will hopefully have with that program. It's very comprehensive. It has a lot of assessment that is done continuously with it, so we can really see students progress through the levels and become fabulous readers. I'm kind of excited about how that will look. And then we also were able to purchase some more updated Bridges material. We had some outdated pieces, and it was not sort of the newest Bridges. And all these curriculums are super expensive. So we have some Bridges transition kits for our K-4 classrooms, and teachers have had some time to build their kits, and they're used to newer pieces that I think will help students get to where they need to be in math, hopefully. And then our 5th and 6th grade teachers are using Open Up and receiving some professional development through that piece as well. So I think a lot of good PD going on. It's a great system. A successful year.
So, Eric, you don't have a traditional continuous improvement plan.
So just so people know this, if you have not. I have Perkins 5. So I will be, this is year I'll be conducting another comprehensive local needs assessment. It is a broad evaluation of everything within our school that goes from academic achievement to post-secondary credential attainment to equity of access to how well are we reflecting the needs of the local community and industry. So that data will come before you all in the spring, and plan then again around Perkins as well every year.
And the last 2 reports are coming from our 2 new people. Dane Van Osdell.
Nice.
Thank you. And Chris Dodge. And just for people to know, the reason they're doing these all at once is they all have to be approved by the board at the end of this. So I leave it to the 2 of you.
So I'm Dane. Nice to see you if it's your first time seeing me. And I'll just start by saying I'm really proud to be the principal at Johnson. The care and the commitment and skill of the folks in that building. It's been amazing. So I'll just lead with that. And then I'm going to read from my notes to keep it under 2 minutes, or else I'll ramble forever. So our first goal is around safe and healthy schools. We're committed to building school culture where respect and positive relationships drive learning. To do that, we are implementing responsive classroom practices such as morning meetings, logical consequences, and effective teacher language. We're hoping to have that going with fidelity by the spring. Develop a level 2 restorative practices system by June as well, and that's fueled by our previous collaboration with the Memorial Restorative Center, and also some growing capacity within our staff. We're using universal screeners to identify students needing additional social emotional learning support and providing targeted interventions through the Wayfinder SEL curriculum that we just recently bought. We've broadly repositioned our behavior team to be more proactive and to act in ways and through systems that maximize student time in the classroom. And we're monitoring progress using our planning room data, referral numbers, restorative metrics, and SEL assessments. The second goal is around academic achievement. The first bullet point here is that we want to increase our overall student proficiency in math and ELA by 10% by 2025, measured through the MAP assessment. K3, we have the goal of raising reading proficiency from 28%, which is where we're currently at on the SBAC, to 70%. And that's by 2028. That's a long-range goal. We want to improve literacy instruction by providing professional development. We're doing tons of PD, as you've already heard, for ARC, UFly, Bridges, and many other things. We're redesigning some of our intervention groups using the ERLA data and FastBridge data to make sure that we're meeting kids where they need to be met. And we're addressing student absenteeism directly by teaming with families because consistent attendance is essential. Learning is going to be equitable. And our third goal is around increased family and community engagement. Really trying to pump up things like our mentor project, which is getting going. We're opening up our assemblies to the community and to families so they can come in and see what we're doing. We've got a lot of volunteer efforts going on from people in the community. That's been beautiful to see. And we even have some cool community projects, like a community member who's doing a podcast just in addition to our JJ News. Yeah, and those goals were put together in a collaborative effort across our staff and some community. Thanks.
So we also have a really significant safe and healthy schools goal that begins with a lot of social emotional learning opportunities. Our goal really is to take the systems that we currently have in place, restorative practices, PBIS, responsive classroom, the zones of regulation. And what has happened is those are all really wonderful things, and we have a lot of breadth, and we really need to bring some depth of knowledge to those systems. And so we'll be doing some professional development that helps us really gain a deeper understanding of each one of those systems. Overall, our goal for this year is to really focus on universal instruction when it comes to social emotional learning. So how are we teaching, modeling, practicing the skills that students need to have to be successful in school? And when we need to respond to behavior, understanding that it is essential that our response is instructional in nature. When students are not having expected behavior, that is the result of a lagging skill, and it is our obligation as educators to teach that lagging skill. And that's how we're moving forward. So we're working on having consistent routines that support access to academic instruction. Of course, all of our SEL work promotes a sense of belonging with students, but also really allows us to make the best use and get the most bang for our buck with our academic and instructional time as well. So we also have the goal of keeping students in class more than we have in the past, and doing that in a way where we at the same time are really ensuring that we are protecting the learning environment for everybody. So while we keep those students in class, making sure that we are preserving that learning opportunity for all the students. We're also focusing a lot on student voice this year. I'm going to be working a lot with student council. We have already established a group, an advisory student group that I meet with frequently. They are already getting to work on our homeschool compact, which is a requirement of our Title I grant, and they are going to be the ambassadors of that work. So they are already out and about in other classrooms having conversations with students about, what do you think it is we need to do at home, folks, in order to be successful at school? What do we need from our teachers, and what do we need from our home environments? So we are going to be working really hard on increasing student voice this year, working on our behavior systems, our instructional responses, bringing it all back to data and making sure that data is driving our system, using professional development to work our way through that. Community engagement is also a big goal of ours this year. I'm currently working with a group of parents to design a survey to kind of get information from the community on how best we can bring the community and the school together. So I'm excited to have that data to work from. And we'll be implementing for the first time a universal social emotional screening tool this year. And I'm really excited to have that data to work from as well. We have a couple of academic goals, strengthening our work in mathematics. So similar to what you heard from other folks in Eden, we are going to have a focus on STEM and integrating STEM really with the purpose of creating as much relevance as possible in our instruction, helping students connect what we're teaching to the real world, and doing a lot of professional development on effective math practices, diving into data. We are completely redesigning our intervention system for students. Historically, that intervention system, the time of our interventionists has been divided up pretty much just equally classroom by classroom by classroom. We need to change that so that it's data driven. The folks who need more support get a little bit more support. The folks that need less support get a little bit less support. We also really are going to focus on early intervention. We get the most bang for our buck when we really focus on that K-2 piece. Of course, keeping track of what all of our students are doing, but really focusing on early intervention. We, like you heard other folks talk about, have some updated Bridges materials as well, so we're excited about that. Our last goal also has to do with reading. We're excited about the ARC curriculum. That is a program that I've used for the last couple of years at my previous school, so I've been really excited to work with teachers on making plans to get that going, creating routines for students that really build a love of reading, and thinking about how we bring all of that back to our data team meetings. We have established weekly data team meetings at each grade level, and folks will be bringing all of the data around math, around literacy, around social emotional learning to those team meetings to drive the instruction for all three of these different goals.
Thank you.
We have a motion on the floor to accept these plans for this year.
Motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? Questions, comments? No?
My question's more around monitoring. Like, could you maybe refresh us on what the monitoring of these goals looks like in terms of readout to the
Tim
board?
can speak to that.
Most of the goals have, I think you probably didn't quite hear in the short summary, but it will say something like, will increase literacy percent of students by 10% who are meeting the standard. And then we actually go and look at that. So there's a column when you fill these plans out that's like that's a whole area of the plan.
Okay. Yep.
On the website. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving these plans, say aye. Opposed or abstained? Okay.
So the next section is relates to board goals. So we had a board retreat and there were some draft goals and some discussion in small groups about what those should look like. And I have taken feedback since that meeting from several people and incorporated them into what we're calling 3-year strategic goals, because if you think about it, it's very hard to accomplish a goal in 1 year. And the themes stay the same. It's academic rigor, it's safety and safe and healthy schools, it's community engagement, and it's the budget process. Or I refer to it here as being a good steward, because the budget is really a moral document. It reflects values. So I think this went out. It did. Where's Michelle?
Oh, it went out. Oh, they have this, right?
Yes. Yes. So I took the district quality standard requirements, EQS, DQS, took the feedback from the board retreat and those goals, put them all together to come up with 4 goals here. Starting with what the goal is, the rationale for the goal and ways that it can be measured. And Bart, I think you may have been asking a bigger question. So one of the things that the board is going to be able to see every single meeting is a data presentation. Because if the board is going to be looking at social emotional wellness or climate issues or academic performance, you're going to want to see data. So that's going to be part of what the board goals will be. That is what you were talking about,
Yes,
right?
that's perfect.
Okay. And these are 3-year commitments. And goal 3 is really something that should happen every single year. So please read these over, but it would be great if the board could adopt these goals. You're not going to see something different from what you've seen. You're going to see it worded differently and made more measurable in the board oversight and measures piece. And I got to tell you, goal 4, community engagement. I was going to get to this in my administrator updates, but I'm going to be efficient here and give it now. We served 360 people at the Flynn event last week, and there was a head count of about 600. We have never had a community event like that. The Flynn puts on amazing performances, and we met a couple, and I think, Kyle, you were talking to them at one point, but apparently they are the biggest supporters of PBS, and I'm not going to name drop because that's distasteful, but this couple was there admiring our students, our families, our event. So talk about engagement and talk about, I mean, we have people coming up to us saying, we feel so safe in this school. You know, my student has had a great experience at the tech center. And this is what a community event should be. It felt great. And there were a number of principals there. There were a number of admin there, board members. It was phenomenal. So anyway, on a tangent. So here are the goals. Can we adopt them? Please.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the 3-year strategic goals as written.
Second. More discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting, say aye. Okay.
So this Friday in my newsletter, I'm going to put out a community-friendly piece that summarizes these goals, and these goals will be put on the website. So, thank you.
Subcommittees.
Subcommittees, it is time to sign up for subcommittees. So I'm going to make a different recommendation this year. We are going into support staff negotiations. So whoever is on that should probably not sign up for another committee because we don't know how time consuming that's going to be. If you want to, go right ahead, but that's not a requirement. So we have these safety and wellness committee. I don't see Jeff here. Denise, do you want to just give a quick, summary of what that committee is? And we're going to ask you to put down your first and second choice, and I'll give you the caveats in a second. Denise?
I mean, we work closely with the SROs, with other people within the school, and we discuss what's happening, how we can make the schools safer. We don't do a lot with more like oversight. Physical safety, do they feel safe coming to school, or do they work on all of that?
And I would offer that climate survey results should come to this committee. Reports on attendance, safety initiatives should come to this committee. Updates on wellness and mental health supports should come to this committee. And that also aligns nicely with board goals. So that's that committee. Thank you, Denise. Kim, do you want to talk about curriculum?
The curriculum committee looks at all things teaching and learning. We examine curriculum, programs, data that looks at results of learning. We do also take a look at social emotional learning and how that's going. And we met one time in conjunction with the Safety and Wellness Committee. It's a rocking good time.
New course approval come through.
Yep, new course approvals.
And then, of course, there is FCC, which is Finance, Capital, and
Finance and capital.
Finance and Capital. It's really the budget committee. And then there are two other committees. There's the negotiating committee, and that will be a standalone this year. And then there's the personnel committee, and we always need people on that because we like to hire in a timely basis, and we want to have a nice representation. So, Michelle, do you want to give the instruction on what they're writing on their sheets of paper, and then give it to you?
Put down your first and second choices for your committee and put your name on your paper. And then I'll come around and collect those. And then I'll tally everything and I'll email everyone and let you know which committee you're on.
Okay.
How do you want us to do it if we're virtual?
I'll reach out to you all separately, okay?
Okay. All right.
Just email me. Email me your first two choices.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll do that right now.
Yeah.
Paul and Rainey and Kim. Where's Kim?
I'm right here. I came over here. I should take my name tag.
No, that's fine, that's fine. We're gonna give a brief intro to AI based on Bart's request and just general interest in the topic. Ready to go.
Working
Well, you could talk.
Yeah.
Hello. We heard the board had questions about artificial intelligence. It's obviously a growing conversation. And we wanted to take, the three of us wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you about that. There, for several years now, just to set the stage, Lemoyle North has had what we call an educational technology and communication team. Kim, Cole, myself, and Michelle Sepka, who is our student data manager, and we meet once a month, and it's an opportunity for the four of us and our different disciplines to come together to talk about how we all can work together, support one another, specifically how all of our work can intersect in terms of what is happening in the classroom. To segue slightly, we also know that there's a growing number of teachers that want some direction from the district in terms of how we are approaching the use of artificial intelligence in the classroom, in the district, how we are working to give our students opportunities to dabble with an area of technology that certainly isn't going anywhere. And we know that it's our mission as a school district to set our students up for success later in life. So this is a few minutes to talk to you all about how that process has evolved over these months and years. And a little bit more context, the three of us have also attended several different statewide presentations and summits on artificial intelligence, specifically about where this field intersects with education. Lisa, we saw at the first one, and I think we had a really good conversation. Oh, there we go. Sorry, slow. To level set, just a reminder that artificial intelligence is a set of tools and systems designed to process information, recognize patterns, generate responses. In today's world, AI platforms can assist with tasks like summarizing information, creating lesson supports, analyzing data, and personalizing learning in terms of the educational field. I think up front, the three of us, Michelle, if she was here, would very quickly say AI is in no way, shape, or form a replacement for teachers. It is a supplement to enhance instruction, streamline workflow, and support student engagement. Again, AI is ingrained in many, many, many areas of our lives now. We have it in all of our pockets, in our streaming services, in our movie watching services. It's everything. So where do AI in education meet? AI in education helps teachers save time on planning, grading, and communication. Students can access differentiated learning materials and personalized supports. Schools can strengthen equity and access by providing additional resources at scale. As you can see on the screen, there's a lot of different examples across the country and across the globe. Ways in which students are accessing artificial intelligence in education, ways that teachers are accessing artificial intelligence in terms of their teaching methods. From tutoring to personalized learning, again, accessibility and inclusion, study aids on the student side, for the teachers, everything from lesson planning to automated feedback systems to classroom management techniques.
So in this project, we reached out to other districts in the state. I'm part of a statewide technology listserv, and I put out a survey to everybody to kind of see what other districts are doing when it comes to guidance that they're putting forward to their district, and where they're at with that development, as well as what AI tools they are starting to use within their district or are considering to use. And I was actually surprised to find that there was a general consensus that schools were leaning towards the Google tools, which is great for us, and we'll get to the why in a second. But it was clear that a lot of the districts are still in that dabbling phase and trying to test it out before actually putting that guidance out to students and staff. I think nobody's quite clear on what those guardrails should be. So that was an interesting feedback we got. And then these are the districts we heard from. And I have put something out to a larger pool outside of Vermont just to kind of see what other states are doing. And I'm waiting for that feedback to come back.
Again, I'm not in the IT field, but the whole survey for me was telling in the fact that I feel like we're not behind in this process. I think a lot of other school districts, and I know this is a small sample size, but again, going back to some of these larger statewide summits that we've been at that include schools and school districts from across the state, my takeaway is that everyone is in a similar place. They're trying to figure out how to roll out these tools across their districts. What is acceptable, what is not acceptable, and everybody's going at this obviously with like current privacy standards in mind. We never want to adopt a platform or give teachers or students, a pathway through which to share private student information, right? We want to avoid things like that. And I think other districts across the state are in a similar place when it comes to AI. So what's to come?
Yeah, so I mean, I can speak to the FERPA and COPA stuff. So when looking at new technology tools, we have to be really careful about FERPA compliance and COPA compliance, the Children's Online Privacy Act, and federal educational privacy and, oh gosh, I always
Educational rights and privacy.
Rights and privacy. Thank you. And the good thing about Google, which is the tools that we currently use for our main Google platform for our email and our Drive, is it's all FERPA and COPA compliant. And we actually have data privacy agreements in place with Google. So utilizing a tool like Google Gemini or Notebook LM would actually fall under our current privacy agreement. So it saves us that step. And this is also, these are two free tools that we are already paying for in our Google service. And I'll let you speak to the other part.
Yeah, and we know that the VSBA is expected to release a policy on AI use in education sometime later this school year. And that's great for us. I know we utilize many of their legally vetted policies. And similarly, the AOE has stated they are planning to release AI guidance sometime this fall. Additional information, resources for school districts, PD opportunities. So we look forward to utilizing that input and that guidance when it's available. And again, I think big takeaway for me is that schools and districts are starting to dabble and approach this work and how do we roll this out, but want some more guidance from higher levels. So what is our Lamoille North plan? Our plan is to come at this from a really slow and steady pace. We want to make sure we prioritize safety, equity, and compliance. We want to pilot those AI tools in staff and student context with clear guidance so everyone understands what their expectations and responsibilities are in terms of these this big topic. We want to provide professional development and resources so that adoption is thoughtful, again, and not rushed. We want to continue monitoring those state, whatever that state guidance may be, and certainly stay in contact with our educational peers across the state. As Cole just alluded to, we plan to do so using some of those Google options.
Yeah, so, sorry, I can't quite see. The two tools that we're looking to pilot are Google Gemini for staff. Google Gemini is kind of like ChatGPT or, yeah, really any of those open AI tools. Little less of guardrails on it. Notebook LM is fed by the resources that you give it. And that's what we would be wanting to pilot with students. Basically, staff would be able to put in the resources for whatever the assignment is or the project they're working on. And students could utilize the AI component of it, but it's only going to go to those sources for that material. It's not going to go out to the World Wide Web for that information. And then again, both of these platforms are FERPA and COPA compliant. So it falls within our current data privacy agreement with Google, which is really big for us and is important for any technology, software, or tool that we vet.
So what does that look like?
We will be doing some professional development in these areas. First will be 2 optional sessions run by Cole and Rainey on those 2 tools on those dates. And they will provide real classroom examples, address concerns, build confidence, and offer ongoing support through coaching and workshops. And then in addition, On October 10th for the secondary schools, we will be introducing this tool, which gives educators some guidelines as to how to communicate what is acceptable and not acceptable to students. So as you can see, kind of going from red to green, red is no use, orange is AI as a thought partner, yellow is AI as an editor, green is AI as an analyst, and blue is AI as a co-creator, so that can be clearly communicated. This guidance also further says teachers don't have to allow students to use AI. Students should only use AI on an assignment when given explicit permission from the teacher. We also want to note, and we will note with teachers, that there is no tool that perfectly measures whether or not students are using AI. And we've gone to the conferences and tried to find that. When you try and use those tools, you will misidentify somebody. There will be students who did their own work and it will identify it as AI. So that's a difficulty, and we recognize that, and we will continue to try and work with staff on that. But if you really want to know what students did, then you know what happened in class. Once students go home, you know, stuff's out there, and for sure our students are using it right now. We can count on that. So those are some things we'll be working on.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was gonna say, going back to the opportunities to have these conversations with our teaching staff as a whole and staff in general, I mean, I look forward to those conversations, and I certainly view them as conversations, like what's going to work well for all of us as a team. Again, I will never pretend to be a teacher in a classroom, having to engage with X number of students that are there. I think that takes a lot of skills that I do not have. But how can these tools help an educator do that job? And how do we also continue to give students the opportunity to build like those critical thinking skills in a world that's surrounded by technology like this? So I think a lot more to come.
The teacher guide, how was that developed? Was it from another source and then you adopted certain things? And if it was from an initial source, what was that source?
This was, and I'm forgetting the name sitting here, but this was created by a national like nonprofit focused on artificial intelligence that they rolled out to or made available to school districts across the nation. And at some of these summits, we heard from a number of other school districts that have adopted this acceptable usage document. I think it fits the needs here as well.
So there were no tweaks to it. This was just something that.
Not as of yet. But to your point, Sue, I mean, I think any document like this should be a working and living document. You know, once teachers get the opportunity to dabble with technology, like what's working well, what doesn't. We'll balance all of this in the classroom and hopefully again make their jobs easier, not harder.
Could you just supply us at some point with what that national organization was? Thank you.
I think that it's also a plan of Cole's and Rainey's to have a committee of students, teachers, staff, and our tech experts to come together and look at how it's being used and the pros and cons of that to help supplement this working document.
That's why we've had several conversations, and now I'm looking at Hutch at, you know, who are the teachers at our different, you know, elementary, middle, and higher levels that would be willing to sit on a group like this with us, and again, give us more of that boots in the classroom, boots in the trenches, you know, perspective about what will and what won't work well for them.
Unmute.
Hi. So I don't know if I missed it, but I'm seeing that this is being rolled out on October 10th, and whomever, I think you were off screen, I couldn't see who asked the question, and I appreciate like where this came from. Is this something that like we're gonna vote on before October 10th, or is this like this is it?
I think they were talking about professional development opportunities for teachers.
Okay. It's difficult, and I'm so sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight. It's difficult to hear people that are like in the corner. Anyway, I have a lot of thoughts about this as an educator that works right now in an online situation, and so I would love to be a part if there is an opportunity for a bigger conversation, because I really I feel very strongly that it shouldn't. AI, Google Gemini, which I'm not familiar with or anything, I feel very strongly that really shouldn't be in the classroom.
And I would say it's just as important to have it in the classroom as with any technology. It's important to teach it, teach them how to use it correctly, and not just let them go loosey-goosey and do it on their own. And that's what they're doing. So I, as a technology integration specialist for several years, I would say it's more important to have it in the classroom and use it. And for the teachers, it is a huge time saver with their, for anything that they need to do and work on. And so I'd be a huge advocate for how we roll it out in the district.
Oh, I totally appreciate that, and I completely understand the benefits, but I'm just still looking at what was, I think it's still on screen. It seems like it's allowing a lot of like free use. I mean, it is a teacher guide, but it still seems like a lot of free use for students, and so I'm just like I'm holding on to a little bit of reservation. And so if I miss some, like I said, if I miss some of the conversation in the corners, and I apologize for that.
I just want to say that I think we got to make sure we don't think AI bad. Because some of the AI out there is actually pretty good. I mean, when I look something up, it pops up into AI, I then go down and look at what the reference was, and I go look at that reference and decide for myself whether that's something I actually want to believe or not. It's the kids don't know how to discern that though, and I think it's up to us to teach them. How do you decide which references are good and which references are not very good?
Well, I think that there are a lot of wonderful pieces of input around this, and I think we just need a little more information about suggestions for a committee, and perhaps part of the curriculum subcommittee could take some of this on as well.
Sorry, I didn't want to like open a can of worms. I just have strong feelings about students using it, you know, all willy-nilly, which is what I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So anyway, sorry.
Don't be sorry. Glad you brought it up.
Thanks.
Don't be sorry, Amy.
A couple of quick questions. And I don't know if they can be answered today, but just to think of what you consider. As part of this, are we considering the considerable societal and personal and cognitive downsides of adopting AI? I've heard that brought up, which I think is really important. I've read a couple of really good books about this. Nexus by the historian Yuval Noah Harari, and another book that's been recommended to me, AI Snake Oil, is also quite good. With regard to compliance, I'm curious, who is the third-party auditors who are confirming that Google is FERPA compliant? I don't know who that is. And then lastly, I'm glad that we reached out to other districts and other states about input and feedback about this, but there's substantial talent within this district and a lot of people who are way ahead of the curve on both their knowledge about this and their use of this, both inside the classroom and out. And I think that before we should proceed, teachers in our district want direction, but also want input about what these policies are, and students as well who have a lot to say about this. So I think we should slow down and kind of roll out until we talk to all the people who are going to be most directly impacted by these policies and the use of this. Thank you.
Point of order. Comments were being taken at this point in time. I think those comments could have been sent to you and be addressed at a later date. So I don't think the board should make any comments regarding those at this point in time.
I know Bart wanted to
Yeah,
say
I
something.
wanted to thank you for the presentation. I think it was, you highlighted a couple of key things for me. Curious to hear more as we continue to evolve, because this is a rapidly evolving area. And if we don't put some guardrails for it, people are just gonna run amok. You know, it's everywhere. It's rapidly evolving. Nobody has the answer to how to use AI. Like even multi-billion-dollar tech companies, including the one I work for, are all just trying to figure this out right now. So, yeah, it's important. I think I heard from you, it's, you know, paramount. It's built into our privacy agreements. Hopefully there's other guardrails that you've vetted around ensuring privacy of student data first and foremost. But I do think it's important that we empower our teachers in some manner to use this as a tool. Otherwise you don't figure it out, right? How else do you figure it out in a responsible manner without some level of experimentation? And then I'm really happy that we are at least developing some guidelines to share with teachers around responsible use in the classroom, because I do, one of my biggest concerns is that usage by students goes unchecked or unnoticed, and it ultimately hampers their ability to think critically. So I'm glad you're thinking about that. I think that's really important.
Any other thoughts? Okay.
I think just Kim and I have a little update here. Kim, do you want to do?
Yeah, my piece
first.
Yeah, we can go.
Okay. So I just wanted to say that the beginning of the year, starts of the year was seamless. And when Eric spoke about the cell phone piece, I think we were all worried about how this was going to play out. It was so smooth. We have not had one incident. And so I thank everyone for their communication about this and for their collaboration around it and making it work. I would also want to say a special welcome to Chris and Dane. Although they're new to us, you would not know it being in the buildings. It's like they've been here forever. So thank you. And thank you again to the board for adopting the board goals, because we've got a lot of work to do and now we have a framework. So thank you. Kim?
Yes, looking forward to looking at data with you all this year. Our fall assessments are just underway, so we can't quite report on those now. And the VTCAP scores from the spring have not been officially released yet. Just a sneak peek is that we did have some nice significant increases in literacy. We have a lot going on out there that you heard about. Teachers are busily adopting American Reading Company, ARC, and working really hard at that, doing a great job. We do have professional development happening with that for both teachers and principals. And so that's one of the first times we've done that in this district, is principals would be part of the professional development plan. And yeah, this is a program where students will do a deep dive into a topic and really build some knowledge around something, which will increase their reading proficiency. So we're very excited about everything going on.
Any business? If not, we have a motion to adjourn. Good night, all.